How bad is it?
I do not have words.
So Kasmul is doing that. What are we doing? What are you doing? May I feel like millennials and Gen Zs actually can win an election.
Yes,
They can.
18 million people.
Welcome to the Politrix podcast. This is where strategy meets politics and business meets the law. We're having a conversation with two of my very good friends. We're going to discuss a lot of things in this country that encompass politics and beyond. Welcome on set, my two very brilliant friends, so that they can introduce themselves.
Thank you. Do I go first?
Yeah, please, by all means.
My name is Bridget Aroko. I am a lawyer and a CEO.
Yes, my name is Isaac, Sir Isaac, also known as Kijana Mdogo. Thank you.
Very good. Now, there's so much that is happening in the country, of course, and politics encompasses a lot of things. We have the law in politics. Of course, that's why Bridget is here. And also, we have the business beat of politics because we are in a capitalistic state. That is Kenya. And they will always try to leverage politics to profit their enterprises. And this is why we are proud to have you on set, Sir Isaac. And of course, there's the bit of spin that moves with politics. So there's so very many moving parts in politics, which then brings us to the question of what is politics, first of all. Then from there, we look at then what is wrong with the Kenyan politics, or are we being pessimistic, or could we be optimistic through this? So maybe we start by the normal question. What do we understand by politics in the Kenyan context? Aroko.
Politics or Politrix?
Politics,
Because there's a
politics.
lot of politics. There are
Yeah.
a lot of tricks in this
Yes.
politics space. And there's a difference between politics and leadership.
Yes.
And I feel like when we elect politicians to become leaders, they forget to be leaders. And during their term, they go with politics. Yeah.
Yes. Sir Isaac.
Yes, I think politics is the set of activities that are associated with a group of people, and particularly in regards to leadership, governance, and election. I would say elections. Yes.
Would you say that there's something wrong with our Kenyan politics, or are we being pessimistic?
There's too much wrong with our politics. Too much.
You believe there's so much that is wrong, or so much
Yeah.
that is good?
Yeah. And it starts with the political parties.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with our political parties?
There's a lot of corruption. Even when it comes to electing leaders within the political parties, we've seen a lot of discrepancies. There's also governance issues within the political parties, and that's a problem. And also, what do these political parties stand for?
Maybe I may ask, which political party do you belong to?
None at the moment. I'm a Gen Z. We are
Tribeless.
leaderless. We are leaderless.
Isaac, which political party do you belong to?
Well, currently,
Yes.
none. I was in ODM. I ran for elections last 2022 in Seme. I tried to run for nomination under ODM, and we because we were a number of candidates, so we lost in circumstances that I would say were not fair. So after that, I went forward with independent. So I would say I'm independent right now.
So you're independent.
I'm independent.
Perhaps you're the right person to talk to about this question of political parties because you've been right at the center.
Yes.
What would you say in 3 words is the problem with political parties in Kenya?
Number one, I feel that political parties, their leadership style is up bottom.
Okay.
Up bottom. It means very little leaders are mentored from ground up. and most leaders are appointed from up down. So that is one of the main problems I see with our political parties. The other one is lack of clear policies and standing. Because I'll just give you an example right now. We have UDA, we have ODM, and the other parties like Wiper in Parliament. But if you noticed from the finance bill till now, you've noticed that President Ruto has actually made a lot of effort in bringing in the ODM folk under him, which therefore means that parliamentary policies will be influenced by the president. Now, I think and I believe that when each one of the MPs and senators are elected by the people, they're elected to serve the interest of the people. But once they're elected, they end up serving the interest of the political parties. So you'd find, for example, let's take just another example again of the finance bill. I am very sure that more than half of the MPs who voted yes under UDA, I'm very sure more than half of them did not feel that was the right thing to do. But to stay politically correct, they had to. So you see, this is a structure where how then do we pioneer, political change or leadership change from the people? It means the leaders don't listen to the people; they listen to the political parties.
There's a famous thinker who once said, I don't have the name, but I remember the quote because it's very significant. He once said that when countries are small, they're made by people. But when countries are big or when they're grown, they make people. Wakili Aroko, do you think that this top-down form of influence that Sir Isaac is talking about is wrong? Because if you look at the parties in the West, talk about the Democratic Party in America, talk about the Republican Party, come to the Labour Party in Britain, or talk about the Tories, the Conservatives in Britain. You go to Australia and all over the West. Seemingly, the party caucuses decides who is nominated into particular positions. Why do you think, and that is if you agree with Sir Isaac, that this formula of top-down leadership in the parties is actually a wrong thing?
It's a wrong thing because it limits democracy. Look at the party politics. When they're issuing out tickets before elections, what happens? We've seen a lot of discrepancies. We've seen a lot of influence by leaders who are the political leaders who are governing the parties. And so if democracy is limited to the leaders, they're not going to advocate for democracy when it comes to the common people. Yeah.
Perhaps where does the law stand on this issue of political parties selecting their nominees? Is there a provision in the law that allows political parties to decide that we are going to do a direct nomination or we are going for universal suffrage?
I mean, there is a law, but when you're in a position where you can influence what the party decides, we've seen so many of those leaders going with giving tickets to wrong people because of things like money. Yeah.
Would you say, Isaac, that in your experience, first of all, Wakili has just made a comment that there was some money that at times is given in these political parties. Did you give some money to somebody in the political party to influence? And what does that what does that then mean in terms of the political participants, the aspirants themselves?
No, I didn't give money.
Yeah.
I wish I could. Next time, maybe
you need to.
Yeah, because after the nominations, now people are coming and saying, "Oh, you should come early. You should carry something."
Kwana bahasha. Mkono mtupu haulambwi.
Mtupu haulambwi. Yes. And even now, I'm still campaigning.
All right. Okay.
And people are telling me, all this good work you're doing, yeah, this is good work, but look up.
Look up.
Go to Nairobi, go to the boardroom.
Yes. Yes.
That's the advice I keep getting from people. So it means even the common man has lost confidence in their own ability to elect their leaders. Because if it's a common man telling me now, as we're okay with you, now look up. It means they have delegated their role from that speech.
So in this looking up, you're being told to look up to who? Specifically, do you have a name that you're looking up to?
I'm told to go to the ODM structure.
Yes, and look for Duorong when?
I look for the people who are saying, who are saying.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And go there, look for these people who have a say. I'm being told, go to the party. So this is the person who's supposed to elect me, who has agreed that he or she has my vote.
Yeah.
But they're saying, now you have my vote, but for you to succeed, look up.
Look up.
So they've delegated their role.
I like that statement.
They've delegated their role
Yeah.
to the party.
Yes.
They have lost confidence in the fact that they can choose their own leaders.
There is a theory in communication called the expectation violation theory, which determines how somebody gives up their rights for to other people. And in this case, typical example of what you're talking about, where somebody has given up his or her right of election and deciding who to lead them to a particular individual. Do you think this giving up of this power to somebody who is higher than them is because they don't trust themselves, or is it because they trust the person who you're being told to look up to?
I don't think it's a matter of trust.
What could it be? Why are they giving up the power?
I think it's brainwashing.
Ooh.
I think there's been so much brainwashing to a level that a normal citizen, like I was telling you, believe that they may like you, but they feel that for you to succeed, the party has to like you.
So then this has been an ecosystem.
Yes.
That is it unique to Kenya, or does it apply in Africa?
It's not unique. It's purely voting blocks. Yeah, every country has its own voting blocks. In the USA, it's more of Are you Republican? Are you a Democrat? In Kenya, sadly, it's more of ethnicity. For instance, you cannot be. Let me just say, if a Kikuyu went to vie in Kisumu, what are the chances that he would or she would win?
But the same Kisumu, we have an Asian who has been in parliament for
But the Asian
about 20
can
years.
speak Luo. That's
Of course,
why.
yes. Of course, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
we also have
if we
Luos who have been elected in Kiambu.
Yeah, that's
in the county
okay.
assembly.
Yes, we
But
have.
we're
You know
talking
that, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about Nyanza,
Okay.
because he's from Nyanza and he highlighted a few facts. And I'm particularly from Nyanza, so I can only speak about my area. And what I've seen is that people sort of see this particular person as a god. And
Who is this particular person? Is it Catherine Muma, who is the elections whatever in ODM?
It's Raila Odinga, obviously.
Oh, okay.
And if I may just add to that,
Yeah.
I think to be fair, it's not unique to ODM.
Yes.
It is unique to it applies to other political parties.
Right. Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed is that other parties have a higher chance of giving an uprising leader,
Yeah.
an upcoming leader chances. Case in point, UDA gave Toto.
Yeah.
You understand? Case in point, the APK gave Salasia. Despite he didn't have a house, he didn't have money, he didn't even have a car. They had to lend him one. Now, it's very hard. For me, personally, I feel like if I was Salasia, I don't stand the same chance as Salasia and ODM. You understand? Because I think there are certain requirements of you understand, that a young man or a young girl, cannot meet. I think, when we talk about Salasia, I think there are terms that if Salasia had been given, he wouldn't be MP today. You understand? And I believe that this thing exists. For me, I feel like it exists more in ODM.
Would you let me ask you? We pride ourselves in saying that ODM, for example, in Kenya has been the longest, or the party that has lead for the longest time actively, 20 years. Just the other day, and because of this, there's been a level of clubbing, a level of trust that has been created between its party leader and its level of aspirants and so on. Do you think, because maybe if you talk about where Salasia comes from, they have had democratization of multiplicity of parties? that has since allowed anybody to prop up because it's democracy. But in the situation we're talking about, this party has been there for long, and there's the question of trust, of familiarity. Would this be the issue and not what you are referring to as corruption, money, etc.? Could it just be an issue of familiarity? Where in the past cases, we've seen some leaders who came to the party you're mentioning, ODM, of course, who then, after being elected, went against Raila.
Yes.
Do you think then it is the issue of familiarity, trust, and not really corruption per se?
First of all, the people, like, for example, in ODM who went against Raila's or the party's ideals. Let's not talk about Raila.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the party's ideals.
Which are?
The party's position.
Which are?
Which are people like Jalango.
No, the ideals.
The ideals.
Yeah. Does ODM have some ideals?
In ideals, I don't mean like the general. I mean like the party's position on a particular point.
Okay.
Understand?
In parliament, that is,
Yeah,
or even publicly.
Publicly, because parties give directives.
Okay.
They give their people directives on which way forward. So I think that those people who went against the party's position, at that time the position was that they were not supposed to support Ruto, but they declared that they're going to work with the president.
This is, for example, the first 9 people, including Professor Tom Ojienda, Jalango, Mark Nyamita.
Exactly.
I remember them, yeah.
Yes. So going by your question,
Yes.
if that was the case, you understand?
Yeah.
Right now they are together. They went first. The 9 they went against the party's position, but the party has joined them.
Yeah.
Right? But we'll know today because Baba is making a statement today, right? We'll know. But going by the indications in the political sphere, I believe that ODM is joining them there.
Okay.
So, what was your question again?
My question is the party's question of familiarity and trust being the criteria which they use to nominate people, rather than what you're saying or what you're implying that they use more of corruption and
so my point was with this, the first line I was talking about, is that yes, so the party has the right, and this is where they say fidelity, loyalty, that criteria. So let's talk about these people who were given tickets under ODM. So they were given tickets under this, right? But they ended up having a contrary opinion to the party. By the party joining them, it validates that they were right. So it means the party may disagree with you on a particular policy or something, but you may be right. So it doesn't mean the party has to be the one to carry the day sometimes. Sometimes its members are supposed to be allowed to carry the day. Like now, it means if they had listened to this 9 at that particular time, we would have saved some time, because now, how many years has it been? 2 years.
Let me ask you, Akili. Isaac is saying that the 9 who went ahead to join the president were right. Remember, ODM, rather, the current happenings right now, came to be because of the Gen Z protests. Okay? If Raila joined Ruto immediately when he came into power, do you think we would have been in the same position that we are in today? Where now we have to say Raila or the party is not very anchored, and it's one of the problems that this country has. Or it could have been a conspiracy against the people, because opponents joining hands at the initial point of governance would mean tragedy for the common man. Don't you think so?
I think the Gen Z movement and the protests really tainted Ruto's name. And
did you participate in the Gen Z protests?
Yeah, of course, I'm a Gen Z.
Okay.
I did. I'm proud to have participated.
You guys did a good job, yeah.
Yeah, we did. And I genuinely feel like Raila may have rode on our movement, and that is why he seems pure now. Yeah.
He rode on your movement?
Yeah, he did.
But he didn't stop Gen Zs from protesting.
He did not, but the timing of everything suspicious. How come after the Gen Z movement, now we have ODM having an upper hand?
In communication, we say never waste a good crisis.
Yes.
And this was a perfect crisis that that ODM saw.
So
if Raila was a true leader,
created an environment, political environment, which could have taken any trajectory,
of course,
towards making Kenya a better country.
Are you sure?
Yes, because there were so many options on the table.
if you look at
one,
Yeah.
they shut down the finance bill,
okay,
and then they started to give demands.
okay,
By the time the president is conceding to the finance bill and is willing to listen, it means he's willing to concede on other points.
okay.
What made the president not follow up on this? He got an alternative. By ODM coming in, changed again the environment.
So is
It's
it
not betrayal per se.
Yeah.
As you'll say that, he rode on, no. But he destabilized the environment that the Gen Z had created that was going to bring about some positive change and impact in our country.
okay?
And
Let
if he were a true
Yeah.
leader, then he should have helped Gen Z organize themselves, because we had made very strong statements. The only problem we had was we did not have a leadership structure. We did not have people to speak for us.
So do you think
Gen
as part of the problem, because we say the political parties are one of the problems in this country in terms of leadership and governance, right? But now you're realizing, because the Gen Zs didn't have a political party, they're not organized in terms of structure, it then became their downfall. So is it
not a
lack
downfall.
of political parties, or is it lack of personal ideals that brings the issue in this country? Because ideals are anchored in a political party.
I have to say it's not a downfall yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a downfall yet.
Not yet.
You guys took a pause.
No. The Gen Z spirit still lives.
But the spirit is
It's
different
only a
from the
matter of
field. We need
time.
them in the field.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
You know, one key important thing that you have to agree with Odiambo
Yeah.
is that political parties are not bad.
Of course, they're not bad. They're important for the organization of the country.
Yes. It is the systems that are in the political parties that are bad.
The people.
The
The
people.
people, they also call the systems. That systems means the leadership, leadership, you understand? So, they're not playing their role effectively, because
Yeah.
now you find that the free will of millions and millions and millions of Kenyans
Yes.
have now been put under 3 people, maybe in ODM. ODM is a large party. So it has been put under 10 people in ODM, has been put under 3 people in Wiper, or 2 people in Wiper, has been put under 3 people in UDA. Are you understanding? So there's a way that political parties are converting, understand, the will of the people and the interest of the people, you understand, to theirs. And I think we'll come there. So reasons for that, I'm sure we're going to tackle them, because they're financial, they're, things to do with power, things to do with interest. Yeah.
From a spin perspective, I'd say this, that one, political parties are necessary for the continuity of polity, because politics in its very definition is advancing the interests of a particular group towards government, which the Gen Zs did very well, of course, advancing the interests of the common man, and specifically their group looking at the future. And I do agree with them that the decisions of the future generations cannot be decided by people who are on their way out. That is a very same thing that they were taking on. But also the reality is we are still progressing. Kenya is a 60-year-old man or 60-year-old country, pretty young or woman, pretty young. Then the parties, maybe the first party, KANU, is now on his deathbed. Maybe he's just awaiting burial. Then we have now ODM, which is 20 years old. A 20-year-old young man or woman has some characters that come with them. And so we could give them a breather and say, okay, 20-year-old is just realizing life, yeah? And maybe things will shape towards the future. Because if we compare ourselves to, let's say, America, Britain, or wherever, we could be overstretching, maybe. But be that as it may, of course, there are challenges, as we've said. Political parties are a problem. There's another question in terms of politics in Kenya and the progress of this country. And that comes to the commercialization of the political enterprise, which we call corruption. How bad is it, Wakili?
How bad is corruption?
How bad is it?
I do not have words for it.
Can we just legalize it?
I think Kenya is in the trenches,
Oh,
honestly.
is that bad?
I think Kenya is in the trenches.
Is it that bad?
It is bad.
How bad?
And let me tell you why it is bad.
Yes.
Corruption.
Yeah.
So around the time I was growing up,
Yes.
Moi was president, then Moi stopped, right?
Yeah.
Moi left.
Yeah. Actually, he was
Back-
pushed out of power.
He had no choice.
He had no choice.
24. It was
Yeah.
24 years max. You understand?
Yeah.
And then Kibaki took over.
Yes.
And I remember when Kibaki took over, I remember hearing scandals of Kibaki, Golden Bag, of Moi.
Yeah.
Golden Bag. And there was, I think, do you know, there were not many, by the way, come to look at it. There were not many.
Moi scandals.
Moi scandals.
Yeah.
Other than the human rights violation and things like that, scandals in terms of corruption, stealing money from government coffers was not actually that bad compared to now. So what happens is, Moi, whom we thought was bad, left to Kibaki, who did a good job. Because even Kibaki, I think, ended up with just 1 or 2 scandals. And one thing I remember about Kibaki's leadership, that State House was not open. You know, accessing State House was not easy. Understand? And that is why I even brought about the split with the Raila team, you know, when they couldn't honor them. Because when Kibaki came into power, he decided to do things his way. You understand?
Okay.
And I think it kind of worked for him, and that's why up to now people say Kibaki was the best president.
To me, was a bad president.
But I'm bringing my point.
Yeah.
So yes, in that, you know, opinions vary. Then we went to Uhuru. Now from Uhuru, here is where the problem started. In fact, the problem started with Kibaki.
What?
Because Kibaki made the opposition realize that they can come into government without going through the ballot. Moi never.
No, Moi did it in 1998. The cooperation agreement.
Yes.
Yes. Where he co-opted Raila, LDP, into government. He did it.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah.
But you see, he swallowed NDP.
And NDP later did away with KANU.
Yes, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The goal of Moi was not to have all these people sharing. You know.
In any case, he used to. In any case,
it was to bring people under one umbrella.
One of his famous statements, if I recall, one of his famous statements, if I recall, he used to say, "Usikue malaya wa siasa." Yeah, usikue malaya wa siasa. I agree with you. Yeah,
yes,
to that extent.
But Kibaki, when was not cornered after rigging election in 2007,
he rigged, or it was just disputed.
Kibaki rigged. Raila won.
The Waki report, not Waki, sorry, the Kriegler report said that both sides rigged.
They have to be diplomatic and be, you see, like for example, their final verdict was, even what Kivitu said, that
he didn't know.
It was so messed up that even he didn't know who won.
But he announced something.
He announced because he exists in a government structure.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
And this is about this thing. I really feel bad about what they're doing to Chebukati now. You know, me, I also had an issue with Kivitu and all these people.
Yeah.
Until I heard what Kivitu said. He said that even if it were you,
what would you have done?
You are a small man. You are given this position. At the 11th hour, you are presented with results from your team. You understand? From the structure that it's supposed to come from. Nobody called you from somewhere else and said, Tangaza. Even if the results are cooked, they were brought inside the electoral body structure. You understand? Because they all played roles. Then the chairman is given results to read. You understand? Even if it's compromised or not. Okay? What are his options? Because Kivitu said, what were my options? Should I refuse to read? Then Kenya goes into crisis.
But he knew Kenya was going to go into crisis. He had intelligence
but
briefs.
He had to announce something. It's his job to announce election results.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I believe that Chebukati and all these electoral leaders are in that position.
Now let's look.
Instead of blaming them, just let me finish this point.
Yeah.
Instead of blaming them, we need to find a way to strengthen the structures under in the electoral body so that the chairman has more power.
If you look at the commercialization of the political enterprise in Kenya, which we are calling corruption, of course it begins from electoral theft or electoral malpractices. As recent as 2022, there were queries left, right, and center of elections being stolen, etc. But the court certified that these elections were actually free, fair, and they even called the other bits of the other advocates that they were bringing hot hair, wild goose chase, etc. So by that alone, at least we have a level of finality, unlike the Kibaki time, where we didn't have a level of finality, and the only resort was what we call ultimate power, and that was violence, which it's always said that the government has, but I think the people are more violent than the government. And so this brings me to the next. This 28. 28 when things went left. Now in 2022, things could not go as left because there were processes towards closure. because I believe when a country doesn't have closure on issues, then the country will always go left.
Yes.
Even us as human beings, let's say somebody does something against you, you'd want to have that yearning in you to understand, why did this happen to me? If you don't have closure of why this happened, then you end up hating somebody or hating something or just disliking something. That said, there's the question of money and money trails. Wakili, money trail. There, you see the level of money that is being lost in government. You wonder, is there no trail of where this money is going?
Yeah.
Recently, we were talking about 104 billion SHA program, and I don't know, the information flow was so scattered that now we are understanding somebody pockets 11 billion per month, 11 billion or 1 billion per month times 12, that's 12 billion in a year. This person takes home. If you look at the other level of scandals, we're talking about Huduma number, for example, in the Uhuru regime, that sank with 9 billion Kenya shillings. 9 billion, which if you gave a university somewhere, could have done Huduma number at cheaper amounts. Okay? Yeah. And so on and so forth. Luckily, I have a question for you. When you're talking about this level of money and the money trails, there's bank fraud investigation department. There is at central bank, that is. We have the DCI. We have all the criminal justice system. But seemingly we are feigning ignorance of finding a trail of billions leaving particular account to somebody's pocket. How, in the legal term, can this be resolved? Because the monies are being lost. If you hear people quantifying the level of level 5 hospitals that could be built, the roads, it is too much. How do you go about it? From a legal perspective, do we have a law? Or comparatively with the world over, is there a way we can recover these monies?
First of all, I said Kenya is in the trenches. Mm-hmm. And when you asked me how bad corruption is, I feel like corruption is at its peak right now in Kenya because you're even gambling with health. Mm-hmm. I mean, gamble with everything else. Gamble with Huduma number, gamble with people, but don't gamble with people's health. Mm-hmm. Health is everything.
Yeah.
When you have all these people stuck in hospital because the system is not working, and then when you follow up on the system, it does not even belong to the government in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's insane. Corruption. People feed their children because of corruption. So how do you kill an enterprise like that? There are so many people who are intertwined in this enterprise.
Perhaps the whole economy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps even people in the justice system, perhaps. Yeah. So it's quite hard to clear. But I feel like if the president was determined to finish it, then it would have been over as soon as yesterday.
A third of our budget, you're a businessman, a third of our budget ends up in corruption. Have you benefited? Have you benefited? As a businessman, we understand you guys have to pay bribes for things to happen. Have you benefited from corruption?
Yes, you have to pay bribes for things to move.
So you paid for bribe?
Me, I haven't paid for bribe yet. I've never won a tender.
But you're a successful businessman. How are you successful?
I have never done a government tender. Because business you do business government through tenders, right?
Of course, yeah.
I've never got a government tender, be it county government or national government. So I haven't bribed. If I got an avenue, because it's a man-eat-man society.
Yeah.
If I got an avenue, I also want yes to become.
So you'd bribe?
Yes. You have to live within the society that you exist. If people are collecting all tenders because they're bribing, you have to remain there, and Kenya is going to the trenches.
So could you be a representation of what is wrong with Kenya?
No, people have to survive.
Okay, so survival is not the problem.
Survival, people have to survive. After you survive, now we need to make decisions that make us not to survive again.
How do we, in your proposal, how do we do away with this issue of money trail that cannot be traced by these government officials?
Let me tell you something, Brian. And it goes back to my earlier point.
Yeah.
I was explaining how corruption has grown.
Of course, yeah.
That Moi was corrupt, according to us according to people at that time. That's why when he left, people made noise about Goldenberg and what. But now when you look at the volume of what they were calling corruption at that time, it was nothing.
It was a Sunday school compared to this that is going on.
So when the people he handed over to brought it up properly.
Yes.
Yes. That is one. Two, what makes corruption high is that governments want to exist. Now, governments have learned, political class has learned, which I was telling you, this started with Kibaki.
Yeah.
You said Moi, but with Moi, it was not structured. Because Moi was not going to give you ministries.
Yeah.
Moi was not going to give you how many PSS ni wako. Moi was supposed to give you as you. Brian.
Nachukua yangu.
Unakuwa waziri.
Nachukua hii
There's
pesa.
nothing like you're coming with your clan.
Yes.
And
but now clans are is the game.
Exactly. So,
yeah.
That has now we move from there. Now Kibaki now formalize it because during the NAC government of Kibaki, 2007 after when we went for power sharing. Remember, Kibaki first of all did not honor the first agreement they had.
Of course, which I think is the problem as well.
Which is what is happening now. Even today, all these things are deals being done. So Kibaki felt that he wants to run government as him, and therefore he did not honor his agreement with Raila. Which is wrong.
Let me just interject you here.
Let me put my point home, then you interject.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. Mm-hmm. So Kibaki tried to get off the Nusumkate thing. But after 2007 election, he had no choice because either he was going home, people were fighting, then he had to give Nusumkate. Remember, he didn't put structures in place. You understand? And Raila was crying. You remember on social media, on news. Ati hakuna
Nusumkeka.
Wanaleta mimi hapa kuna hata chief, hakuna hata DC. It means that Raila's expectation was that if they're sharing government, it comes with certain perks.
Yes.
Now that has grown. So Kibaki now made it now Uhuru now made it formal, very formal. Uhuru now gave Raila a share during the handshake. You know, when he needed numbers in parliament, they were not in good terms with President Ruto. So him now you will now notice now it was structured. Now that's why the structure started. So now they had a handshake government and there were structures that ODM will handle this, you know. And even Uhuru had not. But now the notion that, before leaders used to know it's you or me.
Yeah.
I'm president, you are winner takes all. You see the question of winner takes all that they're trying to be solved right now. So it was the issue of winner takes all. Right now, the political society realizes that the winner doesn't have to take all. And it's a good thing if it brings peace and development, which is what the point is. But a situation whereby winner is not taking all in terms of corruption, that is where the problem is. So you notice winner has to distribute, which is what is happening now. President Ruto has to distribute government. As he distributes, remember, it comes with corruption. It comes with everything. Because it's our turn to eat. You know, our turn to eat politics. Our turn to eat. When it's your turn to eat, you don't go slow. Because you have not been eating.
Oh.
Yeah, we've never been in power.
Yes.
You see, right now, Luos are saying that they are not listening to anybody.
Yes.
Because they have CSS.
Yes.
Because they've never had CSS.
It is time to eat.
Treasury Luos have never had it.
Yes.
So it's time to eat. When
it is history.
You block your ear.
Of course. You just concentrate on eating.
Now that's contributing to the levels of corruption.
I was telling you, I sat somewhere recently where I happened to have listened to some privileged information that the agreements between President Kibaki and Honorable Raila, especially in 2002, when the elections were being done, then Kibaki was being sworn in 2003, they were not anchored in any law. It was an MOU, which is not anchored in any law. So then its implementation was not legal. So there was a Kikuyu mafia, which then proceeded to inform President Kibaki that you must not share power. Huwezi kuwa na serikali yenye pembe mbili. Serikali must be centralized. Okay? So coming to you, Wakili, Raila has been doing something. Allow me to mention him because the denominator in Kenyan politics from 1992 and perhaps through his father from 1960 has been the Odinga establishment, which of course has its own downsides, but also its good sides. And seemingly from 1992, Honorable Odinga has been consistent on what we call Council of Presidency. If there is any term that could be right, if I could say, Council of Presidency, where the presidency is not a winner take it all. It should be a consultative council where maybe in his thinking, I'm not him, but I could just try and imagine, he would desire a situation where after an election, then the president and the one who's lost sit down and agree on how to govern the country. How do we then move? Because BBI recommended that we have a larger council. I call it a council because prime minister, name it, deputy prime minister, etc. All that form a council of presidency. How do we move? Because currently we're talking about the NADCO report, which again has similar recommendations to the BBI, but seemingly it hits a legal snag. The judiciary, is it the problem in this country? Because this country is not moving forward politically because the judiciary seems to be stagnating at the level of implementation of this BBI staff, NADCO staff, or these MOUs. How do we then anchor them into law to ensure that these things are actually a success for the peace and prosperity of the nation?
If the judiciary didn't exist, this country would fall apart.
But the country has fallen apart before, in 2008.
It would fall apart every year.
Okay.
Every election year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we cannot question the importance of the judiciary in this country. Mm-hmm. The problem is with the executive, if you ask me. Yeah.
The problem is with the executive. This is political. Before we go to the executive, of course, the executive is also political, but I enter into a deal with Sir Isaac that we are going to win a constituency seat, or he's going to win a constituency seat through my support. And we say out of whatever he gets, A, B, C, and D comes to me and some belong to him. And we agree in writing. But this is not anchored in law. My question is, how then do we anchor this in law so that this peace is maintained? So that when, after he takes power, it proceeds like that. Look at Israel, for example. If today, part of the coalition, or even Germany, part of the coalition, which is the political parties, withdraw. Like right now, Germany, the extreme right, the AfD, has contributed in forming the government in Germany. If it withdraws, the government automatically collapses because there's a deal that is written that we are going to share power in this manner. If this happens, then we go for snap elections. Yeah. What then do you think we can do from the legal perspective to ensure that these MOUs are implemented to attain peace and to avoid this Caucasian chalk circle that we're constantly into?
But are these MOUs legal in the first place?
That's my question.
That's why they keep being shot out.
So how do we anchor them?
How can we anchor something that's not legal?
We can create laws, right? Parliament is there to create laws. Yeah. We've seen Parliament being very effective in creating some very stupid laws.
And who interferes with the Parliament?
You tell me.
The executive. Almost every time.
So we can say the executive is the problem.
You saw it with the finance bill. You saw it with BBI. You see it every other day when MPs are being called to State House. Yeah? So the executive is the problem. It will always be the problem. If we have a president who is integral, a president who upholds the rule of law, these problems wouldn't exist. The government is structured in a way, Isaac, that it looks like a criminal enterprise. That the head of this government cannot even stand before a court of law. Is protected some sort of. He cannot, and even after presidency, someone like Uhuru, who I believe should be in jail because of the levels of money that he stole, he should be actually in jail, but he's not in jail. The government's organization as a criminal enterprise gives the president some level of immunity, which gives him some level of tough-headedness or surety that whether he kills, whether he steals, no matter what he does, nothing can happen to him. Do you think that we need to change the law for the president to stand trial?
We have to change the law. And leaders have to know they're accountable to their actions, including the president. That will go a long way in changing the trajectory of the country. The other thing I have to tell you is corruption in Kenya. Let nobody lie to you that small people steal. In fact, small people, even the ones who are employed in ministries or what, are only a small percentage, a small structure of the whole cartel. I'll give you an example of all that Ngeritas is not cool. Remember Ngerita?
Yeah, Ngerita, the lady.
Yes.
From Nakuru.
Yeah, Nakuru. It was a KEMSA.
Ngerita something.
Ngerita.
Yeah.
Ngerita.
Yes.
They lost even their property. But if you followed the case well, you'd notice that they were just used as conduits.
All right.
Money. Somebody comes, tells you, do you have a company? Okay, I'm going to wire this amount of money to you in regards to this tender, which is air. It's 100 million. Keep 20 or keep 10. Take 90. Where does the 90 go?
But how's even such money withdrawn?
Now that's what I was telling you. Corruption is headed by the principals in Kenya. They're not fighting it namely. They're the biggest beneficiary. 70% of all the money stolen ends up in the pockets of they lead out kubwa. Governors, presidents, okay? And people, opinion leaders, those who have can be able to bring about some activity.
And allow me to differ with
and
him.
Mandamano is how they collect their share, because now the president, this government will steal, and those people are keeping check.
Yeah,
the opposition, they're keeping check. Already, you've stolen up to 50B or 100. Now they bring Mandamano. During Mandamano, these discussions you hear in Bodumat, we are in talks, we are uniting government. It's about saying, okay, give me mine. So
Isaac, you've been in these rooms.
Yes, give me mine.
And you've negotiated for these monies.
You want 10 billion.
Isaac, you're the problem in this country.
Yes. And then the other thing again, you have to know.
Yeah.
Understand? The positions that they ask for are also enablers of now corruption on this other side. You understand? Because people say that ODM has never been in power. How many county governments have they had?
So many, I think 21.
That's not a government?
I think they have 21.
Why are we not judging them from that? Why are we waiting for them to get the national government to say, now we're in power, now we can spearhead change? No, we want to see change from the county governments that are fully under these political parties.
Someone like Governor
ODM has been in power through county government.
Someone like Governor Wanga is doing well, exemplarily. So ODM has some semblance of excellence.
Well, there's a bit of PR, but I'm sure money.
All
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Just as you say that Wanga is doing well.
Yeah.
I don't know why we always associate leadership to some sort of institution. Leadership narrows down to the person.
The person, I agree.
To the qualities of the person. And when you say that we should change the law, I disagree with you. Because the law is clear. We have one of the best constitutions in Africa. Even the
law is clear, but advocates are arguing throughout. And advocates went to the same school. And they're arguing throughout on this very clear law.
The law stipulates that the president is not immune. Yeah? President
is not immune.
He can be impeached.
Okay, he can be impeached.
Can
but that's a political process. We saw during Gachagua thing how it happened. If it doesn't have the goodwill of the whole system.
Now, who is the problem?
That's why if we had a strong parliament,
the problem is the leaders.
Had a strong parliament,
the
executive would be in check.
The problem is the leaders.
So the problem is parliament. So should we do away with parliament, or should we call for a parliamentary system of governance?
We need to
where we don't elect the president, we just elect the parliament.
Good people.
So we
need to elect good leaders.
So we have a parliamentary system
that the party primaries are done well to a good standard. We elect leaders who stand for people.
Of course, from what Isaac has said, party primaries will never be done well. That's a sure thing.
Then we'll never solve this problem.
So could we just say that we need to have a parliamentary system where we are keen on electing parliamentarians so that they go and decide who becomes the president, and they can impeach, they can remove, they can recall.
That would be very good, but it's a long journey. It's a long journey. What we need to make sure is that our MPs serve the interests of the people and not political parties. You understand? And if we could have MPs, if we could have a law that says all MPs to be elected independent. You understand? Maybe political parties to apply from governors, presidents, understand? Deputy, those high level executives only. Because MPs are mobilized under parties, then they're told which particular path to follow. I want a parliament where majority changes every time. Don't say Kimani Ichung'wah is the leader majority and everything that they agree upon must pass. I want it to be that the majority changes on any particular issue. If there's one issue, you find they have swayed because they're using the independent mind. So you find majority is influenced by thought of the members. So you find half of ODM and 3/4 of UDA agree on a particular point. They are now the majority. As we finish, because we are running out of time. As we finish, there's something that I want to ask you. Yes, you're saying that we need a shift of majority, or we need independence of the mind for these people to move in a particular way. All right, but clearly this is not possible. It's not possible because our system aren't strong enough. People are still young. The country is still young, so we have to make it. Okay, it may need a benevolent dictator someday, so that things move, because countries which have benevolent dictators like Rwanda are looking like they're doing well. How do the dictators get to power? Either by winning elections or by overthrowing governments.
So do you think something should happen?
Yes, I think we should have a leader. It doesn't have to be a dictator, but he has to be a good leader.
But something should happen,
Elected
like
by the people.
like some overthrow.
Let me give you a bit. No, not overthrow. Yes,
You're
it's an overthrow.
Yeah.
But it's an overthrow by the generations that we currently have. This is where Gen Z comes in. This is where millennials come in.
So the Gen Zs are making a mistake. Should they then agree to join politics and become part of a political party?
But they're in politics. Why should they? Why agree again? They're in
Why
politics.
do we have to form a political party?
Because
Do you know why Gen Zs have not formed a political party yet?
Let me give you.
How exactly do these political parties help us? The common ones.
they help us in advancing, because
In
we advance
advancing what?
advancing
Let's
interests.
talk about ODM.
Why can't we
how
form a
exactly? How exactly has ODM helped Nyanza?
ODM has brought about devolution.
Them wananchi.
ODM has brought about freedom of speech that now we are doing here. ODM has brought so many things. Of course, we know it has its downsides, but
The party,
give it to them.
The party is not the problem.
Yes.
It is the leaders in the party that's the problem. So we
As-
cannot say parties are bad.
I'll tell you.
If Gen Z's millennials could have their party, do you know they will win election? Because I was going through some statistics for the last
All right.
election. Registered voters as at 2022,
Yeah.
18 to 24, which is Gen Z's, 2.2 million. 25 to 40, hapo pia Gen Z bado wako kidogo, but wanaingia millennials now. 10.2. So it means combined Gen Z's and millennials, that is 12 million. How much did the President Ruto get in the
7.2 million.
7 points? So it means we will win by a landslide. Then we have 41 to 54, which is 5.1. And 55 plus is just 4. Now, we are being ruled by 55 plus, by the way. We are being ruled by 55 plus, and they are just 4.4 million. Now, why can't we be able to mobilize and move together in one direction? I'll tell you what I think.
Yes.
We are divided in tribes. We are divided in class. Now we are being divided into ages. Understand? I'll talk about millennials. I'm a millennial.
Yeah.
We have 10.2. Why can't we form a government? Because a big percentage of us, I would say about 30, don't care. They are passive, They're the people we
There's
call
voting liturgy.
middle class.
Yeah.
The middle class, they don't go to vote. You understand?
Yeah, we're busy looking for money. Ah.
Then we have another 40% that understand political issues, have interest, but they are gagged. So you find the much they can do is use maybe blogs,
Yeah.
Newspapers, interviews to civil societies, civil activities. You understand? But also here we have some who have fought and been elected. You understand? That's where I think Salasia falls, and people like Bob.
Do you have admiration?
Then the last category, last category now, the last 30%.
Yeah.
I call them collaborators.
Yes.
Collaborators, because you find somebody same age as me supporting somebody who is bringing a policy that works against me, which means works against him. But do you know why he's doing it? Because there's that small benefit. Ile ya kitu kidogo jioni, or a small position here, a small position there. You understand?
Okay.
And this is where also the elected young leaders that we have right now, this is where they fall.
Yeah.
They are young, they are brilliant, the Kinandidi Nyoros, they are all brilliant. But they are forced to collaborate to systems that don't work. You understand? So that their interest is covered, they keep their seats, they keep their jobs.
Looking,
If they could live,
we are running out of time.
Point.
Yeah.
If they could leave that position, if they could leave that mindset, and then we all rally together, we convince even the passive ones to join us.
Yeah.
We would form government.
Yeah.
All right.
And I feel like
looking
just-
looking into your camera. I think your camera is this one here, Wakili Rocco. What would you tell your generation, the Gen Zs? What do they need to do to refigure or recalibrate the political system in this country for the betterment of what they desire? In 1 minute.
I think Gen Zs have been woke for the longest time. So what I can tell my fellow Gen Zs is, let's continue being woke. Let's continue seeing these things. Let's continue calling out the BS as it is.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Call out the BS as it is. Okay. Isaac, your camera is here. What do you tell
I'll say
your
this.
millennial people?
Yes.
These people don't vote.
We need radical surgery.
Yes.
We need to weed out the collaborators. Remember when the whites colonized us
Yes.
and we were fighting for independence?
Yes.
There are some Africans who are being punished and were even killed because they were collaborating with the whites. So that's how bad. Collaboration is bad because it reduces the level quality of life for people, your people.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So what I'll say is this. Let's stop the long procedures. Let's stop bureaucracy. What is making the young people not create change is bureaucracy. Because anywhere you go, you join the existing systems, you get the bureaucracy that exists there is not going to enable you to create change. What I'm saying is, let's start by creating change by the small things. Number one, if I would say today, if it were me,
as the president,
not as the president, as a normal man.
Yes, as a normal man. Yes,
we have a problem in this town called overlapping.
Okay.
Traffic jams.
Yes.
It is so bad that people can't get to work on time. People can't use their cars. And it is only because people overlap. They're overlapping, that is us doing it. So we need education, We need to know when you do this, it affects you in this way. The police are not doing anything. The Minister of Transport, I believe right now, if I was a traffic commandant in Nairobi country, I would need only 2 weeks to get done with overlapping.
Radical.
Because I would take people to court.
Yeah.
I would take people to court. They would stop. We would have cameras on every road. We'll be reporting live who is overlapping, who is doing what. That's change number one that we can create as young people without depending on politicians. Number two, okay, we need to start reasoning with government in terms of their systems. We can't have ministries like Ministry of ICT, Ministry of Sports. You understand?
You don't get the sense of them.
Youth. The sense are okay. But why can they be put then in the hands of the youth? Because most IT savvy people are the young people. Most sports runners are young. Footballers are young. They actually have an age limit, right? Why are we having some old man who doesn't understand sitting in that office? Why don't we give it to? Because I'm sure if I collected CVs for you today, of people aged between 20 to 30, you will not fail to find more than 100 people who qualify to be CSS.
Isaac, in one sentence, what will you tell your generation?
We are sleeping. Tunalala na lazima tuamke. Otherwise, what will happen?
Yep.
That as the quality of life continues to deteriorate and the cost of life goes up, cost of living, which is what Prof are really crying about right now.
Yeah.
That is for us. Can you imagine for our children? Can you imagine for our great?
Yeah, it could be far much worse.
So, by our silence, we actually speaking doom to the coming generation, which is our own children and grandchildren.
You've had it. Well, kutawaliwa ni hiari, as it is said by the Wahenga from Swahili land. As Isaac is saying, that their generation is sleeping. That is the millennials. The Gen Zs are saying it's time for work and they're ready to continue doing whatever they do. We can only hope for peace. But what I know is that Politrix is not the end of life, and politics has everything to do with the quality of life. This has been the Politrix podcast show. Join us on the next episode, but always remember to subscribe and follow all our pages at the Politrix podcast. Thank you. How bad is it?
I do not have words.
So, Kasmol is doing that. What are we doing? What are you doing? May I feel like millennials and Gen Zs actually can win an election.
Yes,
They can.
18 million people.